this video is for you if you have a biology degree and have no idea where to go from here. My name is Samantha Talbert. I'm a medical laboratory scientist, and we go by a lot of names. We go by clinical lab scientist, medical technologist, lab tech, but for all intensive purposes, medical laboratory scientist is what I am, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm also going to do some segments on traveling and how I've been doing it with a 125-pound golden retriever on my own in a two-door Jeep. So if you would like to stay tuned and hear more about medical lab science, please like and subscribe. If you've ever gotten your blood drawn, nose swabbed, a COVID test, if you're unlucky enough and have had something removed, it's all come to the lab, and it's probably gone to a medical laboratory scientist. So I really just kind of wanted to shed light on what I do, because I've been traveling for the past year, and every time I say what I am, people are like, oh, what is that? So I finally just started telling people I was a travel nurse because it was just harder to explain what I do. But I was like, I need to shed some light on what a medical lab scientist is. So let's kind of get down into how the laboratory is broken down. It's broken down into several departments. The first department is microbiology, and that is where a lot of the wound cultures, nasal swabs, urine is sent to start cultures. And what I mean by that is they'll take whatever the fluid is or swab and plate it out on a plate that the bacteria likes to eat on. And when the bacteria eat, they grow. Whatever grows out, we're able to identify, and that is what we are able to hand your doctor. We hand them the identification of what the bacteria is, and that way they're able to put you on the proper antibiotic and the proper dosage to eradicate that illness. Then there is also chemistry. Chemistry is a huge department. They mainly utilize analyzers, really high-tech analyzers, to run multiple tests at the same time. Most of the time it's blood and urine specimens that are going through there, and they're testing everything from your electrolytes to your glucose levels, hormones, infectious diseases sometimes. The list goes on. Then there's hematology. That's my favorite because that's what I've specialized in. Hematology is super fascinating. Usually everybody always gets a CBC, and that is a purple tube that is drawn on you. And what I mean is a complete blood count is what that stands for. And that is quantifying how many red cells you have, how many white blood cells you have, what types of white blood cells you have, and how many you have, and their measurements. And depending on if these numbers look wonky, it'll sometimes flag it and say, hey, something's not looking right. You need to look at this under the microscope. And that is when we're able to take out the microscope, look at your blood, smear it on a glass slide, and really look at the cells to see, do they look smaller than they're supposed to be? If that's the case, maybe you have some kind of anemia. If they look absolutely huge and like not normal, it could be that you have some kind of cancer. And it's kind of wild because a lot of times we're the first ones to know that a patient has cancer. Another department is urinalysis. Urinalysis is super fascinating because you would just not believe how much we'll end up knowing about a person's status just based on their urine alone. The urine gets, obviously you pee in a cup, it gets sent to the lab, and we will run it through the analyzer. Sometimes if it's looking really rough, we'll have to look at it under the microscope too. And that really just tells us how well your kidneys and all that is functioning, how well you are filtering everything that's going into your body. And then blood bank is another section that is so important, especially when you go into these hospitals and you're having a massive procedure and you need blood, you're bleeding out. A sample of your blood is sent to the laboratory, and blood bank types your blood. And what I mean by that, everybody's got a different blood type. B positive. There are several different blood types. And so we find compatible blood for you. So when we give it to you in your procedure, your body doesn't reject it and get super sick. So that's what blood bank does. And it is a huge responsibility in blood bank. And the other department is going to be coagulation. And a lot of times coagulation goes hand in hand with hematology. Coagulation is really looking at how well your platelets are able to form or not form a clot. Very important when a lot of these patients are having surgical procedures. You don't want them to form a clot during surgery or bleed out if they don't have enough platelets. So a lot of times hematology and coagulation will be kind of grouped together. But all of these departments are super important. I've just given a very, very brief kind of summary of what they all do. Each one of them are super intricate and detailed and important. So a little bit about my journey. I obviously finished with a biology degree and had spent a good amount of time trying to get into dentistry school, but finally figured out that that was not going to be my route and decided to become a phlebotomist in the meantime until I kind of figured out what I was going to do. And if you don't know what a phlebotomist is, they're the people who draw your blood. So anyway, I kind of had some idea of what went into the laboratory atmosphere. The clinic that I was working at the time was pretty small. It was a family practice clinic. So really all we did was pretty much just draw the blood and send it off for testing. And then depending on what the test was, the doctor would get the results 1 to 2 days later, maybe longer if it was a complicated test. So I really got to where I was enjoying it a lot, and my mom ended up finding out about the medical lab program. It's 2 years, it's actually less than that, it was 15 months. You don't have to take any more classes, like all of the classes that you took are all that's needed. And that was a big important thing for me because all the other routes that I looked at, I was looking at having to do a lot more classes, even though I already had this degree in science. And so my degree actually covered everything that was a prerequisite for this program. So that was a huge win. Quick, as far as quick goes, it's not like a medical doctor where you're in school half your life. You're out in 15 months, and that includes your clinical rotation, which is amazing, and highly recommend getting a clinical rotation if your school offers it. Hopefully it does. Your growth options are insane. So this can be your forever occupation, or you can use it as a jump start towards PA school, med school. You can be a pathologist, a pathology assistant, which is getting to be a really big thing. There's a lot of schools popping up for those. I'm really a germaphobe. Like, I don't do well with smells. I don't do well with like germs. So, but this is actually really clean. And one thing I love about it is that you don't see where it comes from. Not to mention that there's little to no patient contact. If you're in a smaller clinic, you might have to draw blood. You do a phlebotomy rotation. It was kind of nice because I already had phlebotomy. I was already certified in phlebotomy when I became a medical lab scientist. But we do have a portion of the school that is allotted towards teaching you how to draw blood if you should ever need to. But other than that, that's pretty much all the patient contact you're gonna have. That part's really cool. Like if you're more of an introvert, like medical lab science would be great for you because you're really not having to do a whole lot of social interaction besides, you know, obviously your coworkers and then if you have to go on the phone. But other than that, that's pretty cool. the job availability right now is insane, you guys. There are so many people that are retiring out right now. That, you know, it was kind of like the baby boomer generation, our parents' generation, they're all like retiring, and there are not enough of us being put out. What's really cool, I like literally will tell a hospital, like, this is the shift I want to work. Like, I'm not interested in working days, I want to work evenings, or I don't want to work nights, or if you love nights, you can work nights. Right now, the shift that I'm about to start is the evening shift, so I'm gonna be working 4/10s, but I'm like cool with that. It gives me a 3-day weekend. Like I said, I've been traveling for the past year, and it's just really given me a lot of opportunity to work with different types of analyzers and stuff like that, which has been awesome. And now I'm kind of back home for a little bit, just doing a contract here. But if there's anything that I can answer for you guys, I'm gonna have some more videos to follow on what exactly happens through each stage. I'm gonna go get my blood drawn by some of the students, hopefully at the school that I went to, interview some of my former teachers, and even take you guys through the lab, because where I work is where I'm about to start working is a teaching hospital. So I am gonna get my blood drawn and take it through all the things and kind of show you what happens to it. But in the meantime, if I can answer any questions, my email is going to be in the drop box below. Please send me an email or comment on the video and let me know if you have any questions.